Hello and welcome along to the Kiwi Bred Road to Karaka special. I'm Aidan Rodley, taking you through an hour-long preview of this year's sales from Karaka, where we are putting the spotlight on some star horses and star participants. This is one of the truly global events on the Bloodstock calendar. And joining us are two important, influential men. First of all, New Zealand Thoroughbred Marketing's Chief Executive, Andrew Birch. Great to have you here, Andrew. We'll talk to you shortly. And to New Zealand Bloodstock's Sales Manager, Danny Rolston. Danny, it's a really important time for the sales company. How is the mood ahead of Karaka this year?
We're really excited. We're feeling quite confident. We've left no stone unturned, and this is the week that New Zealand Bloodstock live and breathe for, as do all the participants in the industry that are involved. Has
everything gone basically as you would have hoped ahead of the sale?
Yeah, touch wood. We're feeling really good.
Okay, good as gold. And we go to Andrew Birch. Andrew, this is a week where we can showcase the New Zealand product, because it is a world-class product that's on display at Karaka.
Absolutely. We'll have buyers here from all around the world, and obviously our horses compete so well, so successfully in so many jurisdictions.
How important is it that we do have, a high-quality, New Zealand racehorse on the international stage?
Look, it's vital. We know that the internationals have such an effect on our market these days. We breed an international quality product, and buyers have short memories, so you've got to continually keep pumping out the results, which we do.
And that is clearly what's happened in recent times. New Zealand racehorses performing with great credit on the international stage. Let's go and have a look at what happened at Karaka last year. And Danny, you might be able to just talk us through a little bit about last year's premier sale. Obviously, it was massive. We saw the Frank Alarishizo topping the sale at 1.3 million, but it was a buoyant sale that really the money came back to Karaka.
Yeah, there was a real resurgence from the Australian buying bench. We saw a really increased participation from them, and a climb an average of 17% and the aggregate up 24%. It was a great return for breeders in 2016.
From what we see on these statistics, what's it telling us ahead of this year's sale?
I think it's a really good target for us to head towards. We're obviously very satisfied with that. We've got very similar crop of horses to go to the market this year, and with top stallions that are competing so well internationally in New Zealand currently at stud, we've got a lot of progeny by those stallions.
For sure. And Andrew, you're out talking to the stud masters as much as we all are. How's the mood with them? Are they buoyant ahead of this year's sale?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's really positive. Obviously, as Danny's alluded to, we have a really good roster of stallions at the moment within New Zealand. Horses like Savabeel and Tavistock who will really underpin the sale, and then so many young up-and-coming stallions coming through and doing a great job. So, I think the mood out there is fairly buoyant.
And I guess that we've got to have that stallion sort of roster too, don't we, to attract the international buyers. And Danny, we'll just bring you back in again, because we want to go back into where the spend was last year as well, because like you said, the Australian money was there at Karaka last year.
Yeah, I think the big one of the biggest factors to come out of the national sale last year was that increase in spend in the select sale by the Australians. That was up over 80%. So we saw a real resurgence from Australia in the middle market, and obviously the local spend was strong, and Hong Kong and Singapore trailing behind there.
Okay, we normally use the Magic Millions sale at the Gold Coast in January as the barometer for this sale. Andrew, can you just give us an idea of what sort of went on there and what it can tell us ahead of Karaka this year?
Yeah, obviously the Gold Coast sale was a very positive sale. It was a strong sale. They averaged some 205,000 there, a strong clearance rate. But I think it all bodes really well for Karaka. Obviously there's plenty of people out there buying horses first and foremost, which is really important, and generally that mood tends to carry on through the sales season. So the Gold Coast sale quite often sets the pattern for what happens right throughout the sales season. Yeah,
there's some really encouraging notes, especially for some of the first season sides such as Dundee, who we know so well and who's part of ours. We might just take you into what some of our stud masters are thinking ahead of this year's sale. There's a selection of horses we just want to show you and maybe just talk you through from some of the leading studs around New Zealand. We've picked out a couple here from Penkaro stud. Danny, first of all, we're looking at the Savabeel filly out of Jessopina. We know she was a high-class racehorse who won a Telegraph. You had a chance to have a look at her?
Yeah, I was out at Penkaro Stud in over the last fortnight, and she's a very athletic filly, and quite typical of the high quality stock of Savabeel.
Okay, we move on to another Savabeel, this time Andrew out of Banshee. She was a high class horse as well, another Group 1 winner, of course, from that beautiful Katie Lee family.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge family here represented, Aidan, and obviously being by Savabeel, she's quite a neater, stronger Savabeel. We saw the Giuseppina earlier, who's a bigger, lengthier filly, but this filly is quite typical of a Savabeel.
Yeah, and the Savabeels are going to play a massive part in the sale, aren't they?
Absolutely. He's had 12 individual Group 1 winners, so he's absolutely flying.
Yeah, while the New Zealand stallions are obviously flying, Fastnet Rock has had a massive impact on Karaka in previous years. Daddy, this one here is the Fastnet Rock Assavant filly from the Oak Stud that we've picked out.
Yeah, another nice high quality filly. As you say, Fastnet Rock doesn't need any introduction, but I think what we've got in play here is the Zabeel factor. I mean, there's a real New Zealand flavour to this filly, and she's bred to run well.
Yeah, and that's the thing about all the Savabeels as well, is I've got the Zabeel factor as well. Andrew Valachi Downs are very buoyant about this colt, and of course has had a pretty important pedigree update.
Exactly right. Of course, this is the half to She Brings Joy, who was such an impressive winner during the Ellerslie Carnival. This is a big, strong colt by Savabeel, will sell well.
He's a beauty, isn't he? He really is a nice horse. That's lot 212. Next one we want to move on to is lot 203, this one from Wentworth Grange, and Andrew, will stay with you on this. An Ocean Park filly, obviously a half to Kermadec, and a really lovely mover.
Yeah, you've pretty much said it all there, Aidan. She's a great walking filly, and I think people looking for a future broodmare could be well and truly enticed into this lot.
Yeah, and the Ocean Park, he's throwing a lovely type, isn't he?
He does indeed. You know, very physical horses, and this one a great moving filly.
Okay, the last crop of O'Reilly at Karaka this year, and we'll touch on that later on in the show. But we go to Karaka. This filmed yesterday. We didn't get a huge amount because this colt had only been an hour or two off the plane. I don't think either of you gentlemen have seen the horse, but Danny, on paper, beautiful pedigree, and you can see there this is a full brother to Sham Express, and Richard Rutherford said the horse, he's a cracker.
Yeah, look, I have laid eyes on him, and he's not unlike his full brother Sham Express, who was a very high profile yearling in his year at the sale. He sold very well, and is a very good looking stallion at stud, which we're excited about, and this colt's got a lot of him about him, so yeah. He's a top horse. Great
to see so many Sham Expresses represented in the sale as well. And the other thing about this stud, Beltana, they sold the second top lot at last year's sale.
Yeah, he's a great breeder, Richard Rutherford. I don't know what he feeds them down there, but year in, year out, he turns up at Karaka with a top draft. Even though it's small, it's a top draft, and he does very well.
That is the other thing, isn't it, Andrew, about this? Is that while we've got the Waikato studs and the Cambridge studs, the big players, we've got so many really good, strong second-string stud masters.
Oh, absolutely. Look, a good horse can come from anywhere in New Zealand. You know, you can put your heads through over any of the barn doors at Karaka, and you're more than likely to find a very good one. So, you know, that's the great thing. It's the spread. It's not the dominance necessarily of the big guys. It's a spread that the New Zealand breeders should be very proud of.
Yeah, and it's not just the horses and the breeders that we're so proud of here in New Zealand. It's some of the people who are involved in other roles, such as Joe Walls. Now, his final year as an auctioneer at Karaka, I know you know him personally as Danny's obviously a colleague. Just tell us about Joe Walls and the influence he's had in New Zealand Bloodstock in the years.
Yeah, look, obviously he's been a great figurehead for New Zealand Bloodstock, a great advocate for the entire industry. Danny and I know him quite well. He's had significant impacts on our careers, and one of the things about Joe Walls is he's a man that's so respected internationally. He can pick up the phone, he can go and introduce himself to anyone. He's so well known right around the world, and he's been a great advocate for New Zealand. Yeah,
and Danny, as Andrew said, he's just got an amazing influence, a great mentor for so many people, but he's just that personality, isn't he? He's got a big personality about him.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about his professional credentials all day, but ultimately I think it's the character of the man. He's got a big heart and a big personality, and I think everyone in the industry knows him and loves him.
Okay, yeah, we're going to bring in the Joe Walls piece shortly. Andrew, that's I think you're done for our show, but thanks you so much for coming up here and just sharing that with us. Danny, we're going to bring you back in later on just to discuss some of the leading lots. But let's go and have a look at the piece that we did with Joe Walls, caught up with him at Ritual Farm last week.
I'm fairly relaxed, as I usually am at this time of the year. But you know, I guess there will be some sort of pangs of sadness as the hammer comes down the last one. But look, it's been a great ride for me. I've had a hell of a good time doing that job, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I guess now's the time to hand it over to the other fellas, and let's hope they get as much enjoyment as I have.
So was it all about the auctioneering, or was it more about the horses themselves?
No, I suppose the auctioneering was a bit of an afterthought, although I'd always been keen. I fancied myself as a bit of a singer, and used to be on stage a few times in amateur operatics and things. And one day Peter Kelly said to me, in fact, he said, you know, you should have a go at this. He said, you might be all right, you never know. So I stood up at Pukekohe. We used to have mixed sales there once again in the bird cage, and had a go, and Peter said, I think you should keep doing that. He said, why don't you go down to Frankton and sell the calves and the boners and the pigs, which was what I did. And I did that for about 12 or 18 months, and from there on started to do horses, and was thrown in the deep end at Trentham actually after a couple of years. So that was all quite daunting, but that's how I got my start.
What's been the most rewarding aspect of your job?
Well, I guess the thing that I've enjoyed most, I suppose, rostrum-wise, is it's all very well to get the big prices for some horses. That's usually expected. But it's always rewarding to get a surprise or two. And still today, people will come into the Premier sale hoping that they might get 80 or 100,000. All of a sudden, they get 400.
What's coming up for Joe Walls in the next few years?
We'll still be involved in New Zealand Bloodstock. I'll stay on as the chairman there. And obviously, if there are any things that Andrew needs me to do, I will do for them. I don't see myself being back on the rostrum. Once I step off, I step off. And but there'll be other challenges. I'd like to think that one of the things that I've been doing the last few years is doing a bit of work for some of our major buyers. I like to get around horses and have a look, and I'll probably still do that too, because I think it helps to keep your hand in.